Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and support me. If you subscribe and support us, it will be an encouragement for me to teach more lessons. Now coming to the topic, today we are going to discuss about the different sectors of the Indian economy. What are the different sectors of the Indian economy and how the people, those who are doing different jobs, can be classified into different categories, and also to understand what is organized sector and what is unorganized sector, what are the benefits that we receive when we work in an organized sector and when we work in an unorganized sector. We will be comparing, and what is the role of the government to help the people. These all aspects we will be learning in this chapter. So let us get into the chapter. Here we go. Sectors of the Indian economy is the chapter name. Sectors of the Indian economy. So the different sectors in the Indian economy. First of all, what is the meaning of the word sector? The word sector means a large segment of the economy in which the business share the same or a related product or service. What is the meaning of the word sector? Sector means which is defining in a larger term where the economic activity carries out related to the same or service, same product or service. For example, if you say any manufacturing sector, it is related to all manufacturing businesses or manufacturing products, like that. IT sector, all service oriented, like that. Sector means a large segment of the economy in which the businesses share the same or a related product or some kind of service. Now let us learn what are the different sectors of the Indian economy. You can see on the screen here, when we extract any goods from the natural resources, when we are extracting any kind of goods where the natural resources are the raw materials, it is known as the primary sector. When we produce a good by extraction and collection of natural resources, it is known as the primary sector. When we produce anything from nature, that is called primary sector. What are the examples of the primary sector? The examples of the primary sector are farming, forestry, hunting, fishing, mining. Mining industry, again it comes under manufacturing. If you are doing any rock mining, quarrying, that all comes under primary sector. So the first sector of the economy is the primary sector. What is the primary sector? It is any kind of produce which we do from extraction or collection of natural resources is known as primary sector. Coming to the second one, that is secondary sector. The secondary sector covers activities in which the natural products are changed into other forms through the ways of manufacturing. You take the naturally produced product and you use some kind of technology, some kind of machinery, and you produce some finished product. It is the next step after primary product. Some kind of manufacturing process the primary product has to go through here. Then it is called as industrial sector. What is secondary sector? Secondary sector means it covers anything which we take from the primary sector and goes through some mechanism or some change and produces some useful product. So it is the next step after primary factor or sector. Some manufacturing processes are required here. Some amount of machinery, some amount of manufacturing work is done after you take the primary product. It is also called industrial sector. What is the other name for secondary sector? The other name for secondary sector is industrial sector. What are the examples of secondary sector? The examples of secondary sector are using cotton fiber from the plant, we spin the yarn and we weave the cloth, or using sugarcane as a raw material and we make sugar or gur. Like this, it produces many products taking the raw material from the primary sector, does some kind of mechanical process, or the primary raw material goes through some mechanical process and you get some useful product at the end, that is secondary sector. Coming to the third and the most important sector, that is tertiary sector or service sector. Tertiary sector is also known as service sector. It includes the developments of primary and secondary sectors. It includes the primary and the secondary sectors. It develops them. These activities by themselves do not produce any kind of goods, and they are in aid or support of production process. So we need to understand here, the people, those who are in the tertiary sector or the service sector, they don't produce any kind of goods. Then, like for example, if you want to understand it better, let us take teachers, doctors, or software companies, lawyers. They don't make anything by their own, but they offer the services to the people. They offer how to use that one. We need a lawyer, how to get our works done in the court. A doctor to diagnose us and give some kind of treatment. So like that, the people, those who are working in the tertiary sector, do not offer any product. They only offer their services to us. In exchange, we pay for them. So till now we discussed what are the three important sectors of the Indian economy. The important sectors of the Indian economy are primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. I hope all of you like this one. Children, if you have any doubts, let us quickly go back once and see what are the different sectors, what is the meaning that we have learned. The sectors of the Indian economy is the chapter name. The sectors of economic activities. What is a sector? A sector is defined as a large segment in which the entire economy is running the business of the same product or services or related allied products. For example, if you say media, it can be news, it can be print, it can be movies, it can be social. So all these share information. So sector means something which is larger circle in which the various businesses which do the same or related businesses come under, or you can say it's a large umbrella under which the same business all can be brought under. That is called sector. And primary sector. Primary sector means it is a place, or it's a what it produces is it extracts goods from the nature. We extract goods from the nature is known as primary sector. Farming, forestry, hunting, fishing, mining are the examples of primary sector. Secondary sector. In the secondary sector, we cover the natural products are changed into other forms or useful products by using some kind of machinery or mechanism. Then you get the useful product, that is the secondary sector. Example, the cotton fiber and sugarcane industry. Moving to the service sector or the tertiary sector. Tertiary sector includes or it helps both the primary and the secondary sector. They basically do not produce any kind of products. They offer their services. Their knowledge is being offered for us. Their services are offered for us and we pay for them. That is the tertiary sector. Examples, teachers, doctors and washermen, barbers, cobbler, lawyer, call center, software companies, etc. So these are the three main sectors of economy. Comparing the three sectors, the value of the final goods and the services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year. So how do we take the final goods and services? The final goods and services of a particular sector which are produced for the whole year were taken as a total, and that comes under the total production of the year of that particular sector. You can see here the sum of the production in the three sectors gives to GDP, gross domestic product. What is gross domestic product? It is the final value of all final goods and services provided or produced within a country during a particular period. So GDP can be simply defined as completely what is produced in the country during the whole year in the three sectors is called as GDP. It shows how big the economy is. In India, the task of measuring GDP is undertaken by central government ministry. So here, now we are comparing the three sectors, primary, secondary, tertiary. As you can see here, primary on the diagram, bar diagram, it is shown here. Primary is at the blue color bottom, secondary is at the middle, and tertiary with a wide bar high. So what is GDP? The entire produce of the three sectors in the whole year is called GDP. That determines the country's economy. How big it is, how small it is, that will be estimated by the country's economy only. So we need to be very, very careful. So the production has to be balanced. That reflects the country's development. Let us see now. In 2013-14, the tertiary sector emerged as the largest producing sector in India, replacing the primary sector. As you can see on the screen, we have a lot of doctors, software engineers, call center executives, and all these banking professionals, educational institutions, post, telegraph services, police stations, courts, village administration, and other works have become basic necessity, are offering basic services for the public. Now, the development of agriculture and industry leads to the development of services, transport, trade, storage. So if you are producing anything in agriculture, we need to transport it to the nearest industry. If you take the sugarcane industry, we need to carry the sugarcane quickly as possible to the nearest sugarcane industry. Then we need good transport. Then we need to have trade relations and similarly storage. With the rise in the income for the public, for the people, they start to demand more services like eating out, outside, tourism, shopping, private hospitals, private schools, professional trainings, etc. Over the past decade, certain new services based on the information and communication technology have become more important and essential. So after 2013-14, the tertiary sector became the dominant sector in the Indian economy. It is the largest producing sector. So primary sector has been replaced by the tertiary sector. Why? Because services such as hospitals, educational institutions, postal telegraphs, police stations, port, village administration, municipal corporations, defense, transport, banking, insurance, etc. are considered as basic services today, and development of agriculture and industry will automatically lead to the development of transport, trade, and storage. When you produce anything, we need to transport it, we need to do trade, and we need to store the produced. So once the agriculture and industry develops, that leads to the development of trade, transport, and storage. So with the rise in the income, people now start to expect more services. They want to eat outside, tourism, shopping, private hospitals, private schools, professional training. They want to enjoy and they need preferences. That's what we can understand when they are expecting private services. And over the past decade, there are certain new services based on information and communication technology have become important and essential. So these sectors are playing a dominant role on the Indian economy. Why are most people employed? So where are most people employed? Most people are employed in the secondary and tertiary sector or in the primary sector. Let us see here. More than half of the workers in the India working population are in the primary sector. More than half of the workers who are working in India, means out of the all working force, if you take the working population, more than half are working in agriculture. And what is their contribution to the GDP? The contribution to the GDP is only quarter of the GDP, means half of them are working and only 1/4 of the GDP is contributed from the primary sector. So coming to the secondary sector and tertiary sector. The secondary sector and the tertiary sector employs less than the half of the people when compared to the primary sector. They are employing less than half and they are able to support the GDP by 4/5 of these products. These sectors produce 4/5 of the products and they are the largest contributors of GDP. The secondary and the tertiary. To be precise, it is tertiary which is the highest contributor of economy for our country's GDP. So in our country, where are the most people employed? They are employed in primary sector. Then secondary and tertiary sector occupy or have less than half of the primary sector, but they contribute more to the country's economy. So this is the point here. And how to create more employment? Now, employment can be given to people by identifying, promoting the local or locating industries and services in the semi-rural areas. So employment can be created by identifying and promoting and keeping the industries in the semi-urban areas, means the semi-rural areas. So every state or a region has a potential for the increasing the income and employment for people in that area. There is a chance for every state to grab the potential which it has and increase the income and employment. It can be tourism. They can develop their tourism. They can develop their regional craft industry or new services like IT. A study conducted by the Planning Commission, now renamed as Niti Aayog, estimates that nearly 20 lakh jobs can be created in the educational sector alone. So you can see the potential of the educational sector. Every state has its own resources, its own talents, its own natural beauty. So we need to tap that one, we need to identify that, and then we need to increase the income by tapping that particular potential of the state. Like that, we can create more employment. The central government in India made a law implementing the right to work in about 265 districts of India, which is called MGNREGA. The short form, the full form is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. Under the MGNREGA Act 2005, all those who are unable to and are in need of work in the rural areas are guaranteed 100 days of employment in a year by the government. So who all needs employment, who are not having any kind of jobs in the rural areas, for them the central government guarantees 100 days of work for them under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. If the government fails in its duty to fulfill the promise, if the government could not provide the employment opportunity for them, it will be given unemployment allowances to the people. So it is the duty of the central government to ensure the people, those who need work in the rural areas, to provide employment, that is guaranteed employment for 100 days under the scheme which came in 2005. This scheme is implemented in about 625 districts of India out of 680 plus districts what we have. We have 680 districts. Out of that, 625 districts in India are having this program implemented. So according to this program, which is brought in 2005, all the villagers or the rural unemployed will get work for 100 days guarantee. So what if they don't fulfill the promise? If the government fails in its duty to provide unemployment, to provide the employment, it will give unemployment allowance. So they give them money for the 100 days of work because they fail to give work for them under the act. So that clause also is mentioned under the MGNREGA Act, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005. Now, let us look at the divisions of sectors as organized and unorganized sectors. Organized sector, unorganized sector. It is a sector where the employment terms are fixed, regular, and the employees get assured work. So, if you are working in an organized sector, your terms and conditions are fixed. You have regular work guarantee for you. But when you go to the unorganized sector, they are characterized small and they are scattered units in which largely outside the control of the government. They are not working under the control of the government. Now, organized sector, mostly it has control over the government. They are registered by the government. They follow all its rules and regulations which are given in various laws, acts, Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Gratuity, Shops and Establishment. So they follow all the rules, they register their firms in the government. Whereas here in the unorganized sector, there are rules and regulations, but there is no followed. They are not followed since they are not registered with the government. They are not registered with the government. And coming to the job in the organized sector is regular, has fixed working hours. People work more, they get paid more. If they work for overtime, they get paid. But when it comes to here, the jobs are low paid, often not regular. Whenever they have work, they hire them. Otherwise, they don't hire them. And workers enjoy the security of employment. They have the job security. But employees in the unorganized sector do not have any kind of security. People can be asked to leave without any reason also. So the organized sector, they have good pay, they have good work, guarantee of work, regular pay, follow all the government acts like Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Gratuity, Shops and Establishment Act. Jobs are regular, fixed time, extra pay for extra work, and they enjoy the security of employment. But when it comes to the unorganized sector, the unorganized sector is characterized by small and scattered things where they are largely out of the control of the government. They don't follow any rules which are implied by the government on them. Jobs are very less paid and often not regular. Employment is not secure and people can be asked to leave without any reason. Let us see some more differences here. People working in the organized sector get several other benefits such as paid leave, payment during holidays, provident funds, and gratuity. They get all these benefits. None of the benefits are present here in the unorganized sector. They don't get any paid leaves, no provision of overtime, no holidays, no leave due to sickness. People get medical benefits in the organized sector. So we can imagine no medical facilities here. They get pension. The factory ensures that they get facilities like drinking water, safe working environment. No facilities are provided in the unorganized sector. Examples of the organized sector are industrial workers, government employees, Anganwadi workers, village health workers, etc. Employees of the unorganized sector are shopkeepers, farming, domestic workers, labor, rickshaw, pullers, etc. People working in the organized sector get several other benefits from the employer such as paid leaves, payment during the holidays, provident fund, etc. But there are no provisions for overtime, holidays, sickness, or any other festival bonuses the unorganized sector will not receive. So there are two main sectors of work what we have to do. You have to be in an organized sector or you have to be in the unorganized sector. Organized sector, you have lot of benefits, safety and security for your employment. But when it comes to the unorganized sector, you don't have any safety, security or any kind of fair payments rules followed in the unorganized sector. How to protect the workers in the unorganized sector? How do we protect them? There is a need. Yes, there is a need for protection and support of the workers in an unorganized sector. Here are few points which we will be understanding or trying to help them. The government can fix the minimum wage rates and working hours. They can fix the timing, like from morning 9 to evening 5 only they have to work. Afterwards, nobody should allowed to be worked. Next, they can provide cheap loans to self-employed people. They can encourage people to start their own business at very less rate of interest. Government can do that. Yes. Government can help provide cheap and affordable basic services like education, health, food to these workers. So the workers they should be able to avail the services such as education, health, food to the people. Government can also frame new laws which can provide provisions for overtime, paid leave, leave due to sickness, even in the unorganized sector also. And it should be made compulsory that everybody has to accept this particular rule. Now the sectors in the terms of ownership. public and private. There are two sectors in the terms of ownership. If you take the ownership as the criteria, who owns it, then there are again two sectors. So till now we saw sectors in the economy, then we discussed work, organized and unorganized. Now we are discussing about public and private sectors. The public sector, private sector. In public sector, most of them are owned by government. So they get all services which the government provides. Example, railway, post offices are the examples of public sector. The purpose of the public sector is not just to earn profits, but its main aim is to take care of the public welfare. But coming to the private sector, in the private sector, the ownership of assets and the delivery of the services is in the hands of private individual or company. What are the examples? You can say Tata Iron and Steel Industry, Reliance Industries Limited are the examples of privately owned companies. Activities in the private sector are guided by the motive of to earn profits only. Whereas in the public sector, they just don't work to earn profits, but they also work to provide public welfare. In private sector, that is not the motto. Only earning profits is the motto. What is the responsibility of the government? The responsibilities of the government, you can see here, there are 6 major points. 1, government raises money through taxes and other ways to meet the expenses on the services rendered by it. So the responsibility of the government has to take care of that. The government collects the taxes through various ways. It has to take care of them. Secondly, it has to undertake heavy spendings such as construction of roads, bridges, railways, harbors, generating electricity and providing irrigation through dams. It has to ensure these facilities are available for everyone, like the roads, railways, bridges, electricity, dam, irrigation water. All these facilities, government has to ensure that they are reaching to everyone in the country. That is the second suggestion. Third one, there are some activities which the government has to support to encourage private sector to continue their production or business. In some industries, government sector is minimal, so private sector should be encouraged to continue their production. Coming to the fourth one, government in India buys wheat and rice from the farmers at the fair price and sells at lower price to consumers through ration shops. In this way, it supports both the farmers and the consumers. One side, it is buying with the high amount, the fair price from the farmers and supporting the farmers. On the other side, the same high priced food, whatever is bought, wheat, rice or dal or something, that is being sold to the common people or below poverty line people with low price. Like that, it supports farmers and consumers. Running proper schools, providing quality education, health and educational facilities, all are some of the important duties of the government. The government has to ensure to provide good schools and ensure there is good quality of education happening there. Health and educational facilities for all are some of the important duties. Government also needs to pay attention to the aspects of human development, such as the availability of safe drinking water, housing facilities for the poor, and food and nutrition, taking care of the poorest and the most ignored regions of the country. So government has to make sure the taxes which are collected were used to meet the expenses of the services, undertake heavy spendings on bridges, railways or harbor, generating electricity, such projects, Government has to support private industries to grow more. Government is already supporting by buying wheat and rice from farmers and selling it to the consumers, the below poverty line. It has to ensure there is good schools and quality education in the schools, and also health facilities for all. And government needs to pay attention that human development such as safe drinking water, housing facilities for the poor, and the food and nutrition, taking care of the poorest and the most ignored regions of the country. So these are the key points in the chapter. So let us go through all the slides as a recap. These are the sectors of the Indian economy. Here we learn what is a sector. Then we learn what is a primary sector, what is secondary sector, what is tertiary sector, compared the three sectors, what is their contribution in the GDP, discussed what is GDP and what is the role of the different sectors in their contribution to GDP, where are the most people employed in the primary, secondary, tertiary is being discussed, how to create more employment discussed in this slide. We discussed about MGNREGA 2005, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. The provisions in this slide discussed about the divisions of various sectors as organized and unorganized. Then how to protect workers against unorganized sectors or the people those are working in the unorganized sector, public and private sectors, and what are the responsibilities of the government are discussed in this slide. And with this we come to the end of the chapter. So I hope all of you understood, my dear friends, students, those who are learning this chapter, please listen to the entire video patiently, cautiously. Then you will be able to understand each aspect. I explained in detail all the key points of the entire chapter. So once you finish listening to the video, go through the textbook, go through the entire lesson, each point. Then you will be able to understand each point in detail. Otherwise, come back once again, pause the video, check wherever you missed the point. Hope you all will like this. Thank you. Please subscribe.